Hi, I'm Laura Hedgecock from Treasure Chest of Memories here at RootsTech2016 with the honor of interviewing the amazing and eloquent Paula William Madison, author of Finding Samuel Lowe, From Harlem to China.
Thank you.
I'm so happy to be here. Paula, your family was a blended family, if ever there was a blended family. Yet, reading their story, to me, mosaic almost seems like a better term for the assembled collection: full siblings, half siblings, step siblings, skin colors, nationalities, ethnicities. So can you speak to the concept of family and of belonging in light of that kind of mosaic?
Sure. Well, you know, the interesting thing about my family, so long before we discovered our Chinese family, we were, my two brothers and I, three black kids in Harlem. Growing up, our father lived somewhere else with our mother, who was a single parent and who didn't look like everybody else in Harlem. She looked demonstrably Chinese. So we were kind of like the black kids until our mother came outside to say, come in for dinner. And then it was like, what is happening? Who's that lady? And so we always were aware of racial differences from a very early age in ways that I think other people were not. We were sensitive to issues around race. We were sensitive to issues around family. We were sensitive to issues around blended families. And so what did occur was, for example, my mother, when you talk about the blending, while she looked Chinese as we were growing up, if you asked her, what are you? She'd say Jamaican. No, but what are you? Well, and my mother would identify herself as whatever her children were identified as in that era. So if we were colored, she was colored. If we were Negro, she was Negro. If we were black or African American, that's what she would say. And the gift, I realized later on, was that my mother was creating her own tribe and affirming us in a way that she had never been affirmed. Because when she was a small girl growing up in Jamaica, she was living with her grandmother who did not want her and who referred to her as a half Chinese wretch. Now, even worse, when family members came to visit, my mother would be sent to the back of the house to not come out.
Yeah, I read that.
Because that's how
So
ashamed. So for us, this notion of blended family, race, my mother raised us to just be a family, knowing that there were going to be so many other races and DNA that comes into play, but it doesn't matter because family is family, and that's how we were raised.
It is so awesome. Which you just kind of touched on. One of the things that I know a lot of people deal with is when it comes to putting family stories to paper, people really wrestle with the ugly stories. How much to tell and how honest to be. And you took a story that wasn't all ponies and rainbows at the beginning, and you wrote it into a missive of hope. So I'm wondering what advice you have for other people trying to tell their family story.
So Laura, I'll be perfectly honest with you. If both of my parents were alive when I wrote my book, I probably would have had to pause more than I did. I gave a lot of thought to what I was going to share with the world. But the reality is that this story is my telling of our family legacy. My mother had a story, my father had a story, but this is Paula's story. And in trying to be respectful of them and who they are and who they were, I needed to be somewhat careful and sensitive. But here's the important thing. In so many families, so many secrets are kept. And in keeping those secrets, what it turns out to be later on is that for those of us who are seeking and looking for family, sometimes those secrets are actually the stumbling blocks that deter us from finding our lineage.
Yes.
So I had to, as a trained historian, I had to take a deep breath and say, if I'm going to tell the history of my family, I'm going to have to tell it warts and all. So I did. I actually got from one of my older cousins, you know, I really like the book, but I don't know if I would have told everything that you did. And my response was, I'm really glad you liked the book. and I had to leave the rest hanging in the air because my cousin's story is a different story from my story,
True.
right?
Yes.
And my story is a legacy tale,
Right.
and I want it to be as truthful as it can be because that is the only way we're going to find our true histories.
So, Paula, I've read a quote in which you say, "We are all immigrants. We come from all over, and most of us have lost pieces and bits of our story along the way." And you found big pieces of yours, but there's many of us who haven't been able to find our bits and pieces. So how do we still weave a deep family narrative when we're missing those pieces?
So, Laura, what I think people have to remember is that every day more information is being added to the internet. And that one of the beautiful things about Family Search, as well as what the bloggers are doing and the researchers are doing, is every day they're finding more information. I was discouraged when I couldn't find information about my mother or my grandfather or my father or I couldn't find, but keep searching, keep going online, keep talking to people in your family. These bits and pieces that in my family seem to have come together seemingly seamlessly. It was almost 100 years of separation. And I learned as we were shooting our documentary, I'd never known that my oldest brother, that when he went to Hong Kong in 1973, I thought he went to Hong Kong to hang out. When we interviewed him for the documentary is when I learned that my brother went to Hong Kong to try to find records of our grandfather.
Oh, wow.
I'd never known that. And he said
Wow.
that his friends in Hong Kong said to him, if he was looking for records before World War II, forget it, they've all been destroyed. Not destroyed.
Right.
I found records long before World War II online. But 10 years ago, I would not have found them. So what encouragement, if I can give your followers, your readers, any encouragement, I'd say do not be discouraged. That information is going to come out. I mean, just tonight, the Freedmen's Bureau information is going to come out. How many African Americans, how many black people
Amazing.
think that they can't find any information about the descendants of slaves? And yet, Family Search, I've found so much information about my family in China because Family Search has a whole segment that deals with the Chinese. Don't give up. You'll find them. There may be little bumps along the way, but there are so many people passionate about reuniting family and bringing people together that eventually you'll get that information.
Oh, that's great. Thank you. We need to wrap it up. So I thank you so much for your time
Thank
and
you.
for your beautiful story that
Oh, thank
blends
you.
a personal story with a family story and a search story.
Thank you so much.
Thank
I
you so
appreciate
much.
it. I appreciate it.